right, hello class. Welcome to Unit 4 of the Technologies of Communication course. I hope you are enjoying the course. We are almost at the halfway point of the course, so please be sure to keep, really plugging along and doing all the great work that you've been doing in the course. So sometimes I see a little mid-term slump, and so hopefully you won't do that. And you'll just be able to keep on and keep your motivation up and do a great job here in the middle of the course. So let's take a look at what we have going on this week. The first thing you want to do is read the announcements. And then when you've done that, of course, you'll go into the unit. We have an interesting interesting lesson in Unit 4. It's maybe something you haven't really thought much about. And it is about media ownership. So we use media all the time. We've discussed that in this course quite a bit. You're aware now of how much you use it based on your media diary. But one thing you may not know is who controls the media. And so I think that's a very important consideration when we're talking about media literacy. We need to really understand that these mega corporations own a great deal of the media that you view and read and watch every day. And that really impacts what you are receiving in the news. There can be bias, there's gatekeeping, there's a lot of things to consider. One thing that has really helped with that a bit is social media. You have a little more of a forum in social media so that it's not all controlled by a handful of corporations. However, there still is a great influence by these corporations. So it is worth considering when we talk about understanding how we use technology. So this week we're going to be talking about that. So be sure to read this introduction. For our learning objectives this week, we're going to learn about media conglomeration and discover the major players. We're going to describe how media ownership affects coverage of the news around politics and social issues. We're going to recognize how media conglomerates can create bias and confirmation bias and discuss the impact of the Telecommunications Act of 1996 on the media industry. In order to do that, you are going to complete all of these readings and resources. I want to point out to you, you will actually be watching an entire movie. It is on Rupert Murdoch, who is the media mogul that owns News Corp, and he is also the owner of Fox News. And so this is a very interesting movie. It's a documentary. It is well over an hour, and so you want to make sure you set aside plenty of time to watch that movie. You will have to watch the movie in order to complete the discussion this week, which is on media ownership. So you're going to Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry, that's in your blog. So for the discussion this week, you're going to go to the Columbia Journalism Review website and then select a media company, one of the top media giants, Viacom, GE, Wall Street, Disney Company, or Time Warner, and sum up what they own. This says not to use Clear Channel or iHeartMedia, which is featured in the attached lecture notes. So don't choose those. You need to discuss what surprises you about the range of what this company owns. You're going to consider whether or not there's a potential for this company to create bias, have a conflict of interest, or the ability to astroturf. And you want to make sure that you're citing examples in your discussion. And after reading about the Telecommunications Act of 1996, detailed in the attached lecture notes here, in the example of Clear Channel's media ownership, do you feel the government should take a more active role in regulating consolidation in the media industry? And you want to explain why or why not. Please be sure you are always supporting your points with sources. It can be the text, it can be what you've read for the week, it can be something from the library, it can be something from an online search if it is a credible source. So you can share experience, examples. You just want to make sure you're supporting your opinion. We're going to continue the Twitter assignment this week. You still have to do 14 tweets or retweets. This week, you're going to consider media bias and misinformation in the news. Your assignment is to, with your new awareness of bias and or misinformation in the news, media continue tweeting this week with a particular emphasis on sharing via our hashtag what you consider examples of bias. You should also feel free to tweet to a colleague about their blog post. So you're going to be tweeting most specifically this week about bias or misinformation in the news. So be on the lookout for that. Now, you have another blog assignment. This is a draft this week, so you're not actually going to be working in WordPress. You're just going to be submitting the Microsoft Word document to me. You're going to watch the Outfoxed movie, and then you're going to answer these 4 questions based on that. You're going to talk about the bias that is presented in the movie Outfoxed. You're going to consider Catherine Tabby's Huffington Post blog about the 10-year anniversary of the Robert Greenwald film. You're also going to talk about what you have learned so far in this course that inspired you to be more critical of news, and how are you trying to be more news literate. And you're going to also answer the question, do you feel that media ownership does impact the agenda for the news, or is Fox just an extreme example? And here's a heads up, we are going to be watching another film next week. So this heads up suggests that you watch this film maybe more than once to be sure you get all the vital information. So if you have extra time and you've completed all your work, you might want to go ahead and get a look at that movie. So that's what we have going on this week. Just to recap, you want to read the introduction on media conglomeration and media ownership. You're going to read all of these sources and watch the Outfoxed movie. It is a full feature film, so set aside plenty of time. You're going to be discussing a media giant and the bias this company may or may not have in their news. You're going to be tweeting about media bias and media misinformation, and then you're going to be drafting a blog on the Outfoxed movie, and you're going to answer these 4 questions. I hope you have a wonderful week. I look forward to talking with you.